Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I am going to be providing some of my thoughts on what I've seen from a few of the prospects for the upcoming NBA draft so far this season. However, before I get too far into it, I want to remind you all to leave a like and subscribe. I've been appreciating all the support that I've been receiving lately, and I hope to see that continue. Now, without further ado, let's hop into the video. I want to start this off by saying that I haven't by any stretch seen every college prospect so far this season. As a matter of fact, I've really only seen about 10 of these guys, and a few of them I've only seen once. So it's not like this is going to be a super in-depth video or a video where I talk about a large amount of players. It's mostly just going to be me giving some early thoughts on the players that I've seen the most of and the ones that I find to be the most intriguing. With that being said, we'll start off with Cade Cunningham. Now, Cade Cunningham is essentially the unanimous number one overall pick for this upcoming draft, at least at this point, and I'm not disagreeing with that total notion. Cunningham is an incredibly well-rounded player from what I've seen. He is a good shooter, as he can take advantage of catch and shoot opportunities as well as knock down three-point looks off of the dribble. He is a strong and well-coordinated ball handler who can attack the rim at a high level, and he seems to be a pretty solid finisher, although at times we've seen his shots get blocked because his team, quite frankly, just isn't very good, and opposing defenses are able to help off of their men quite a bit onto him and really collapse that defense onto him. He seems to be a really talented on-ball defender and someone who is going to be able to wreak some havoc as an on-ball defender at the next level. On the off-the-ball stuff, I've seen him have some lapses where it seems like he's not completely locked in all the time, but at other occasions he is able to jump passing lanes and make spectacular off-the-ball plays. So I'm not particularly worried about the defense stuff, and I've seen him make some terrific passes both in transition and in the half-court offense so far. I've only seen like 3 Oklahoma State games so far this season, but in each and every one of them there's been a few showy plays from Cade Cunningham that have left me walking away and saying, wow, this guy is going to be something special when he enters the draft. And I'm excited to see what happens and what team is able to win the lottery to have the rights to draft Cade Cunningham. I also want to brag a little bit here. I was going to do this at the beginning, but I forgot a little bit. My picks of what players I really liked in this past draft class look really good so far. I had LaMelo Ball as my number one guy, and I had him in a superstar category all by himself, and well, that's looking pretty good so far. I was super high on Tyrese Maxey, and I had him 4th on my personal board. Well, he just put up a 39-point effort a couple days ago, so that was wildly impressive. And I also was really high on Saddiq Bey and had him rated to being a close to the top 10 prospect, and he's been playing really, really well so far for the Pistons. So, just hyping myself up a little bit. I did pretty well on that draft stuff. I also really liked Killian Hayes. Not looking so good so far. Okay, well, now that I've done that bragging, we can move back. Next guy here is Jalen Suggs. Suggs, to me, is another do-it-all guard, and really he's playing at a similar level to Cade Cunningham. I just don't think that he is as versatile of a player because he is 2 inches shorter than Cunningham, but he still has great size for a guard at 6'5". He's very strong, he's super athletic, and he plays with a ton of swagger in his game, which makes him super exciting to watch. He's a really good ball screen initiator, where we've seen him establish a really nice chemistry with Drew Timme in the pick and roll. And he also is perfectly capable of finishing at the rim, and he's been shooting the ball great from 3 off of those pick and roll looks where he's able to take pull-up attempts. This guy is just a really, really talented player, and I think that behind Cunningham, he's clearly the second best guy in this draft to me. I'd say the third best guy is pretty obvious as well in Evan Mobley. Now, I haven't seen Jonathan Kuminga or Jalen Green or Daishen Nix play yet because obviously they haven't started their seasons with the G League Ignite team. So once they begin action, maybe my opinions will change and I'll have to reorder my rankings of a few of these players. But for now, I think Evan Mobley is pretty clearly the third best player. I've only seen him play once, which is kind of an outlier here. I think every other player I've seen play on multiple occasions. But Mobley was really, really impressive in that one game where I did see him play. He seems to be a do-it-all big offensively, where I saw him flash a really talented roll man type game in the pick and roll action. It seems like he can shoot, and I think I saw him hit a three, either that or it was a long two from the mid-range, but overall his jump shot looked pretty good from what I saw and looks like something that could translate over into the NBA, which would certainly make him an intriguing prospect. It seems like he's a high-level finisher at the rim and someone who's capable of making some passes out of the short roll in the PNR. So Evan Mobley seems like a really solid option as a modern big man and someone that will go in the top 5 of this upcoming draft. He's maybe the most intriguing player in this draft class to me, because if he can really iron out a few of the mistakes that he makes on the defensive end, where he's still able to be really effective just because of his athleticism as a shot blocker, but if he can figure out the more intricate aspects of defense, I think he has a chance to be like an all-NBA level defender who can put up outstanding stat lines on the offensive end. I might like Evan Mobley more than I like Jalen Suggs now that I say this, but all of these three guys are fantastic, and I'm excited to see them continue this season. After that, it drops off a little bit. Like I said, I haven't seen the G League Ignite guys yet, of course, and I also haven't seen Zaire Williams from Stanford, or Scotty Barnes from Florida State, or Jalen Johnson from Duke. So my next favorite guys here are a couple of upperclassmen, starting with Corey Kispert. I think even had I seen those other guys, I would have Kispert over them, because I think this guy might be my Tyrese Maxey of this season. Like I said before, I had Maxey 4th on my big board, and that was so much higher than anyone else had him. Well, Corey Kispert might be a sneaky top 5 guy, in my opinion, in this draft. Now, I get it. He's older, and he's not necessarily someone who's going to be able to show great improvement as his career goes on. But I think this guy's going to come in and be Duncan Robinson right off the rip, and I think that he has like a Klay Thompson level ceiling if he can figure out how to score a bit more off the dribble. I mean, just look at this guy's production so far this year. He's shooting something like 60% from the field, 50% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. You've heard of 50, 40, 90. Well, this guy's shooting like 60, 40, 60, 50, 90, which is just ridiculous. This guy is a perimeter player shooting with this kind of efficiency. That's wildly impressive to me. He seems like a shooter who's fully capable of taking shots off the bounce, off the ball movement, off of catch and shoots. He's just going to be a threat all over the court, and that shooting ability is so wildly important at the NBA level. I've also seen so many great defensive plays from him. He's always locked in when he's off the ball and seems to be a great team defender, and he also is able to use his frame to its maximum effectiveness, and he can take on some of the more difficult matchups against wing players that they ask him to, despite not being a terrific athlete. In case you haven't been able to tell, I'm absolutely in love with Corey Kispert's game, and I think that he is going to be a huge difference maker on whatever team grabs him, especially if it's outside the lottery, because I just think that this guy is so talented, and I'm really, really high on Corey Kispert so far. Next guy here is James Bucknight. I've seen Bucknight a couple times. He really stood out to me in the game against my Marquette Golden Eagles, who I'm a pretty big fan of as a Wisconsin kid. But Bucknight absolutely shredded them, and he seems like a really high-level scoring guard who is mostly oriented through shooting, but is also fully capable as like a slasher and cutter. So he can score in multiple ways. He needs to improve on like his playmaking stuff. I can't remember him having a single flashy pass against Marquette, or at least a single impressive read off of some action. And he wasn't anything special defensively, but yeah, this guy can score the ball, and that's really valuable in the NBA. I think he can come in and have like a floor of being a really good sixth man who can put the ball in the bucket. And if he can figure out the defense and playmaking stuff, this guy could be a very high level, above average starter type player. And that gets me quite excited. And I think James Bucknight is one of the better players in this draft class. Next guy here is Ayo Dosunmu. I really like Ayo from what I've seen so far, mostly because of his defensive stuff, as he seems to be a player who's capable of switching off onto multiple positions, is very versatile on that end, and is very active, being able to create steals for his team and allow them to get out in transition. He's really stood out to me as a playmaker. He's been shooting the ball really well to start the season, and he is also an explosive finisher at the rim. So I think Ayo Dosunmu is a very underrated prospect for this season. I think he's a do-it-all point guard, and what isn't valuable about that? So Ayo Dosunmu could be a very sneaky steal for a team at the latter half of the first round, and I would certainly be a fan if he were to go to a team that could utilize him right away, because I think that his game could translate over the NBA really well, and he could be effective right off the rip, especially if the jump shot that he's shown so far is real, because he's been shooting it well over 40%. And considering the jumper was a bit of a question for him coming in, yeah, that's a good sign. I like Ayo Dosunmu. Keep your eye on him. The last three guys I want to talk about here are the Kentucky players. Isaiah Jackson is actually my favorite of these three, which might be insanely against the consensus. I don't even know why I've watched Kentucky play like 3 or 4 times this season. I guess it's probably because one of my buddies is a Kentucky fan, and I really like making fun of him because his team is bad. But Isaiah Jackson has been my favorite of the three players. That probably has something to do with Terrence Clarke being hurt, because when he was healthy, I thought that he was an exciting player to watch because of his athleticism. But Isaiah Jackson is a player that I view as a starting NBA level big man at some point in his career. He's just too athletic and too fast in that huge body to not be a starting level player at the 5 position. He's immediately going to be a good rim protector and rebounder who can rim run a little bit. If he can develop a jump shot and figure out how to stay down and be more patient as a rim protector, I think this guy has a chance to be really, really good, and I'm excited to see what he can do entering this, as this season continues. With Terrence Clarke, like I said before, he's been injured, and it's hard to take too much away because even before that he wasn't too consistent, but oh boy, BJ Boston. Like, when I first watched this guy, I was pretty pumped because I was like, all right, everyone's hyping this guy up. He's going to be a top 5 pick. He's a super skilled slasher and someone who's going to really be a great scorer. Well, that has gone down the drain. In what I've seen from him, he seems like he's completely lost defensively. He can't make reads in the half court and isn't much of a passer whatsoever. He can't really attack the rim at all that high of a level because he's just so limited by his team not being all that good around him, and defenses are able to key in on him when he's on the court, and so far he hasn't been able to shoot it. I think his shooting splits are like 36% from the field and 15% from 3, which is just terrible. I don't get it with BJ Boston. I don't think that he is a player who should be getting first round looks at this point, quite frankly, because he's just looked that bad to me in the limited time that I've seen him. Overall, though, I'm pretty excited for this draft class. Obviously, at the top, you have 3 guys that have a chance to be perennial all-stars in Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, and Evan Mobley. I think Corey Kispert and James Bucknight and Ayo Dosunmu have a chance to be really high-level role players in the NBA with perhaps a ceiling to be a bit more. And the 3 Kentucky guys, well, we'll see what happens with them. But there's plenty of other prospects in this draft, and these are just the ones that I've seen so far. However, it's got me quite excited, and I can't wait until we get to some March Madness stuff because I really missed that last year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see what these future pros look like at the highest stage. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments section down below. Which of the players that I talked about are your favorites? Which ones do you think are overrated? Which ones do you think are underrated? Let me know. I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments about how my Corey Kispert takes are obnoxious and over the top. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. That's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.